Hi everybody, hope you're all having a good Sunday afternoon. In Melbourne we're still in lockdown, so we may as well do some creating. I had a panic moment this week when I suddenly realized that my stash of birthday cards was running low. So I normally send out a lot of birthday cards and suddenly there are no cards for me to send out. So this is my latest obsession, quick and easy. Let me show you how to make them. So these are the cards. You can get into your stash and use whatever DSP you like. So the formula that I'm using is I'm using 1 sheet of DSP, 1 sheet of embossed cardstock, and 1 sheet of stamped cardstock. But you can do whatever you like. You can use all embossed cardstock if you want it all textured, or you can use all DSP, all stamped, or a combination of whatever. So I'm going to shift these out the way. Normally I like to have them where you can see them, but that's not going to work today. So that's the DSP that I'm using. I've embossed the Just Jade, and what I normally do is I cut it bigger than my actual size, and then I emboss it just so that sometimes when you emboss, it sort of pulls the paper a little bit. So I just want to make sure that that's going to keep to my correct size. Okay. And then the stamp sets that I'm using today, I'm using Daisy Lane, and I'm using the embellishment from Here's a Card. Okay, so I'm using the Happy Birthday. The stamp set's got really nice sentiments in it. The one that I seem to use a lot is this one, I Made You a Card Because You're Worth It. Alright, so just some tone-on-tone stamping with my So Saffron ink pad. I'm going to randomly stamp my daisy. Now I have to say that So Saffron is not a colour that I tend to use very often, but I find lately it's actually growing on me. Okay, so there we go, all stamped. Right, now I can show you how to do this, but you're never going to get it exactly the same as what I've got, and you're never going to get 2 cards exactly the same. Okay, now here's a hint. If your stamping is directional, make sure that when you're cutting it, you're actually cutting it right side up, because otherwise you're going to mess it. And what I found is that my trimmer will happily cut 2 sheets of cardstock, but it doesn't like doing 3. So we're going to do 2 at a time. Okay, and what I forgot to tell you is that your sheets of paper are all the size of your first layer of a card. Okay, so when I've got my card base, it's as if it was going to be layered. You can do it the same size as your card base, and then your paper is going to be going all the way to the end. I like having that little border, so I've done it sort of 1/2 centimeter smaller all the way around. So putting my 2 sheets together, I'm just making a cut, and it doesn't matter where it is, it's just one cut. And then taking my cut piece, I'm putting it against my 3rd piece of cardstock, and I'm lying this down so that my cut edge there is along the groove of the cutting track, so that when I cut it, I've cut a piece exactly the same size there. Then taking my piece that's left over, I'm going to cut that, and again, however you want to cut it. And the same thing again, we're putting the piece on my last piece, and I just shifted that, so you know what they say, measure twice, cut once. So let's make sure that I'm getting that right. And try again. Okay, so that's my cutting done. Now what I do is I start with my first piece, and here's where we need space. So I'm just laying them out, 1, 2, 3. I then take my second piece and shift each color over one, and then the same with my third piece, so that I've got 3 piles where I've got one of each color in each pile. Okay, now this becomes a bit of a jigsaw puzzle, and sometimes I do get into a bit of a tiz where it suddenly looks like the pieces won't fit together. Okay, so if that happens, just calm down and lay them down, and we're then going to stick the 3 cards. Now I have to say that this one's doing my head in a little bit because I always would never put pink and red together, but this pack of paper has Poppy Parade and Magenta Madness in it, and when I was looking at the colors, having the Poppy Parade card base seemed to give the whole DSP a real lift, which the others didn't. So there we go. Suddenly we're doing pink and red. Never would have thought it. All right, so yeah, sticking. And because they were all the same size and you've cut all the same, they should actually glue together perfectly. So there's the one. Then we're taking the next one. You can do whatever order you like. It's sometimes easiest to start with the biggest piece, but depending on how you cut it, you never know which the biggest piece is going to be. And that's why we love Tombow, so that we can slide things. Right, and my last one. I tend to worry when things are just too repetitive that the videos get too boring, but hopefully this isn't too much repetitive sticking, and seeing that it is all part of the technique, and we're almost done. I hope that you'll just bear with me. So there's our 3 cards. Then what I did is, from my leftover DSP, my 6x6 square, I cut a few little strips, and I just cut them. I didn't really measure. You can see they're all different sizes, but what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of glue on there, and then stick it along the edge of my piece of white, and I won't do all three of these while you're watching, so we'll spare you having to watch all of that. And then we're going to just stick that onto the inside so that we've got somewhere nice and white to write our message on. Okay. And then here are my greetings, all stamped and punched, and this time I actually made sure that my dimensionals were here, double checked, because we all know that my dimensionals normally like to run away from me when I need them to stick my greetings onto cards. Okay. So now you can stick your sentiment wherever you like. I'm going to put that there. And maybe I'll stick this one up over here. Right, now for this one, I've tied some little bows, and if you come to my classes, I normally tie the bows for everybody, but seeing that now you're going to have to tie your own bows, I thought I'll just quickly show you how I tie tiny little bows. So I use a fork. So this is a fork that I've had probably for the last 13 years. I bought it when my niece and nephew arrived in Australia. You know, my niece is now 18 and I still love the fork and the little cup and plate that I bought for her. So the catch with this is that you actually want a fork with 4 prongs so that you're getting even loops. Okay, so loop your ribbon around the fork. You're then taking your end piece, keep that down, over and through. I don't know if I need to hold that up that you can see what I'm doing. Through the middle, okay, and then knot it over. Pull really tight because that's going to make your knot that you're going to keep. You're pulling that those are pointing down, okay. Slide off, just snip the ends, and there's your tiny little bow. And then we're going to pick up a glue dot, stick the bow onto the greeting, there we go. And there we go, 3 cards, minimal effort. I should have stuck my paper down, I didn't do that properly. And then what I'll do is, with my Poppy Parade, just stamp a daisy onto the corner of the envelopes, because we always have to have matching envelopes. And we're done. So there's those 3. Here's my original 3, trying to fit them all on camera. So you can see that it's going to be different depending on how you cut your paper, and there is no right and wrong with that one. So go on, dip into your stash of DSP, make some cards, and once you've made them, please post them to the Facebook page that we can all share in your pretty cards and get different ideas for different color combinations. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.